you think of me? Now you stand hand in hand with another man. I shouldn't mind, this happens all the time. I've got to draw the line on what isn't mine. So I'll be fucking fine. Yeah, I'll be fucking.
Does it work? Now it's working. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to PAX East. How's everybody feeling? No snow. Go Bruins. I don't know. We're in Boston, right? I am very excited and very humbled to be up here to be able to talk to you about Ashes of Creation. And the best part is I don't get to do the talking. These guys get to do the talking. Ashes of Creation is a new MMORPG that is in development at Intrepid Studios, made by these gentlemen here. And I'm excited to see MMO fans in the audience because I've been playing MMOs all the way back to Ultima Online. And it's a great, I don't call it a genre anymore because every game is an MMO. But this one really, really captures the fantasy epic feeling that we've all had in MMOs coming through the past few years. So with absolutely no further MMO talk, we're going to go right to Ashes of Creation talk. So let me introduce the team, and they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves. Sitting next to me is Matt Broom. He is the lead character artist, and he gets to make all of you look absolutely amazing in beautiful armor. So Matt, tell us your history, your game history.
Sure. My name is Matt Broom. I've been making MMOs for almost 20 years. I'll give you my more recent ones. The last game I did was H1Z1, art director character lead. Before that, I did PlanetSide 2. We broke the Guinness record for most players on a server. Before that, we did DC Universe. I was art director on that and character lead as well, the visual director for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PC. And currently, I'm at what I think is the best job I've ever had, which is Intrepid, making the most ambitious MMO I've ever made, and being character lead there, where I think we are going to shatter expectations.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love it. The man next to him with the big smile is Jeff Baird.
Jeff Baird?
Bard. Oh my God, Bard. Bard.
Bard who went to Bard College, by the way.
He went to Bard College. He plays a bard. He's a big fan of Bardtail. Jeff, the R looks like an I. I'm going to make that one.
Okay.
I know why I did that. It's early morning. It's still 10 o'clock. But Jeff is lead game designer. And he has an incredibly rich history that he's going to tell you about.
Yeah, I grew up at Sony Online Entertainment, started there in 2003, lived, breathed, did everything MMOs. I've worked on every side of the game design process, worked on Star Wars Galaxies, worked on EverQuest 2 a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's something that kind of gets into your soul, and once you're kind of a part of that genre, it's really hard to go anywhere else. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be with Intrepid Studios, is because we can really take game design a step further in this genre, and kind of get out of this stale sort of samey thing that we've been doing for the last 10 years. So I can't wait to get this in you guys' hands.
Very cool. Awesome. The next person on the panel is one of my favorites because I love getting his phone calls even if they're like 7 a.m. in the morning. We always have great talks, which is so much fun. And that is the person who's bringing this to life for you, which is CEO and creative director Stephen Sharif.
So my most recent project is Ashes of Creation. Before that, I was a hardcore MMO player. I've been playing MMOs since 25 years ago. I was 7 years old. Played Neverwinter on AOL when it was $6 by the hour to play. was my first game. You know, for me, I had a rich history in business, successful, and you know, I retired, and really what I wanted to do was create a studios that could make what I felt was missing in the genre. You know, I was not very happy with the direction that developments were going in, and being in San Diego and having access to some of the most talented developers in the industry to bring on board this project was just a no-brainer. And you know, I'm really happy with where the Ashes of Creation has gone since we announced the title beginning of 2017, end of 2016 actually. I think we're making unbelievable progress, and I really can't wait to show everybody what we have in store for them and what this project can really bring to the genre.
Awesome. Next, Steven is one of the guys with one of the toughest jobs, which is a lead technical designer. So he's buried behind his keyboard all days, but this is Akil Hooper. So Akil, go ahead.
Yep. Hey, so me, I've been in the industry for about 18 years, 19 years, something like that. And I worked on EverQuest and EverQuest 2, where I was a lead designer, creative director. I was creative director for both EverQuest and EverQuest 2. I was the lead designer at Disney Interactive for a little while. I was a designer and a producer for Obsidian on the Fallout New Vegas. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. I don't know what else. We're going to come back to this and talk more stuff about what we do. So
yeah. You dropped the I worked on Fallout Vegas. That's very exciting, though.
It was, yeah. Yes.
Cool. And like me, he's probably one of the few guys who played Dungeons and Dragons First Edition when I did, back when I was 6 years old. Michael Bacon, who he's the lead environmental artist, and he has an incredibly rich history. So Michael, tell us about your past in games.
Incredibly old. I go back a long, long way. I've been in the industry for over 20 years now, I think. Started off in a small startup company in Wilsonville, Oregon, working on console stuff, and then just kind of kept going. And let's see. Yeah, I was working on some of the Duke Nukem console things, and moved on to Gauntlet Commander and. What else?
One of my favorites.
For how much trash talk you do on the internet or online or whatever, I'm really not good at talking. But anyway, I worked on EverQuest, the EverQuest franchise, for like over a decade, working on pretty much all the EverQuest 2 expansions, 11 of them. Well, I guess they've made more since I moved on, but yeah. So. Kind of took the environment track, really into making gigantic, ridiculously big worlds, and yeah. Then I hooked up with the studio here, and I love the culture, and yeah. So I guess that's. I mean, our mantra is pretty much go big or go home. So he picked the right guy for that.
You went big. We all saw it. Yeah. Look at the gameplay. I love that it's gameplay and not cinematic trailer, by the way. That's the best part. Show gameplay. That's what we're all going to be doing, right? Yeah. So I wanted to ask, and you guys can decide who best to answer this question, is one of the great things about Ashes of Creation is you're bringing MMOs back, but you're bringing them back in a fantastic new way with a lot of different mechanics that we're really going to be excited about. Mm-hmm. So give us kind of the brief history of, from a game design standpoint, what Ashes is and kind of the story behind how you're bringing it up.
Well, Ashes of Creation is an open world, non-faction based, high fantasy MMORPG. And some of my most, I think, favorite times that I've had in MMOs is when there were these massive battles, there were just massive content of players that were always present in the starting areas. It's always difficult to get back to that kind of nostalgia.
Yeah, that first one.
First experience.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That first hit.
And I think that from a high level perspective, that was obviously our objective, was like, we want to feel that again. And obviously that's the chase that kind of every MMO player that's been around for a while is going for. But with Ashes of Creation, a lot of our systems are designed around community, bringing people together and offering them a way to really shape the world around them. And I know for many of you who are following Ashes of Creation already, we often talk about our node system, but really that's the core design structure of the game, is that the world is built through these systems that then grant access to different services, different storylines, housing, crafting, pretty much everything that you can imagine an MMO can be is built through this system that's directed by the players and where they are and where they choose to be in the world.
Yeah, one of the things we did was we kind of broke down, what makes an MMO different from, any other game out there, and it's really about the people who are playing it, right? Like all the best stories from an MMO come from, doing ridiculous things that are outside of what the normal, like prescribed gameplay is, right? And those are my favorite stories to hear. Those are my favorite stories to tell. And so it's looking at how we can give tools to the community to create those moments and to kind of reintroduce the idea of like a band of people coming together and doing something together. You can't get that in any other genre, so we're really trying to lean into that and give everybody the opportunity to really make a difference in the world.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Next on our list is we really want to allow each team member to talk. We talked about their history, but we'll talk about what you're working on the project. I mean, Matt, you're the character artist. So all these guys in the audience, they get to create their own characters. I'm excited for your orcs. I know there's different names, but I'm a big orc fan. So when you're going in and sitting down at your desk every day, what's it like for you to build out these character templates that everyone in the room is going to be playing?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's complex. I mean, the whole thing about MMOs with the characters, which, I mean, this room probably knows, it's about how scalable they are and how good they can look when they're scaled in volume, right? So that's always the puzzle that you're dealing with. So on Ashes of Creation, it's by far the most races and unique looks that I'll have ever done. Awesome. In a game, and that's regardless of EverQuest and other titles I've made, even spent time on Star Wars Galaxy. This is ambitious. So what we're really doing now is we're solving some hard problems on scaling high quality character assets. So what I do every morning is we come in and we figure out, how can we give each one of these looks, truly unique visual aesthetics, but at the same time not cheat the quality volume. So, Steven makes it really clear we shoot for the moon every day. Sure. So we're trying to make the best MMO characters with the highest detail level, running at 60 FPS, real time on servers every single day. We play test every single week. So it's a different studio because we are constantly benchmarking and testing the game, the characters. We're not just making pretty art and hoping it works 2 years from now. So it's different.
And I think that's why you mentioned early, Garrett, about seeing gameplay. I think for us, and it was important to let the community see the development of the game, like real-time development. And that's been kind of rare, I think, in the MMORPG-specific industry, in the game industry as well, because it's a two-edged sword, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, when you're seeing something that's a work in progress that's being built in real time, obviously you're going to have a percentage of the population that says, oh, that's the end product, it doesn't look good, right? And then you're also going to have the benefit, which is the other side of the sword, where players, the community, which MMORPGs are the most unique community in the gaming industry. I mean, they are the most unique genre. Sure. There's no other game that's like the connectivity, the social interactions, the guilds, the things that bring us together as players. And we want that process, that discussion, that inner connection between the developers and the community in this project as it develops. It's so important for us as developers to see the real-time feedback. We can jump in Discord, we can jump on our forums, we can send out mails, whatever it is, to see real-time feedback from the community about the strides we're making in development. And part of what Matt was discussing with regards to how character pipeline's getting set up right now is we want the most in-depth possible character tree for players to be able to work with regards to either their look or the creation of that character. It's going to be pretty in-depth.
Yeah,
and pretty.
Well,
yeah,
but it's both. I mean, that's the best part, right? You want high-functioning characters who can do the great superpowers and amazing attacks that they're going to put together. But you also, you're looking at that screen every day. You want to see the cool stuff, the effects, the clothing, the armor. It's awesome. So I'm very jealous of Matt's job. And I'm a horrible artist. I can draw stick figures with swords. That's about
I'm
all
going to tell you something interesting about Matt, is when we're in art meetings and in the conference room, sometimes he will sit with his sketch pad and he'll just start freestyling on the sketch pad, and it blows me away what in 10 minutes this guy can make on a sketch pad. It is unbelievable.
Matt's background is incredible. Everybody should look it up because he's around.
I want to put those sketch pads in like a museum.
Put them up. Let's post them. We'll do blog posts,
Yeah,
right?
we should.
Let's
We should
put
post
them
the
up.
sketch pads.
Yeah, concept art.
Oh,
Here it
that'd be
is. Cool. Jeff, you tackle a lot of systems in the game, and you're kind of the guy as lead game designer. So tell everybody, what's your day-to-day like? What are you building for? What challenges are you building for them to accomplish? Or epically triumph over?
Yeah,
Let's talk to him about it.
It's really about talking with Steven every day, interpreting what he says, and turning that and spreading that out to the team so that we can kind of build on that vision. It's a big project, right? And it's about trying to find the quickest, simplest way to do the things that Steven wants so that we don't get lost in the weeds, so that we don't spend a lot of time, wandering around in the wilderness, and then we take 8 years to push it out, right? It's about finding solutions quickly, finding the right solutions, and then implementing those solutions. We are a very iterative studio, so we're constantly putting stuff in game, testing things out, trying to find the fun. Every day is different, right? There's no 2 days that are the same in the studio, and that's one of the really cool parts about it, right? There's no sense of drudgery. It's all really exciting work that we're doing, and we're really pushing the envelope on what design can do in an MMO. I mean, just the simple, like if anybody has played the experience, the utility abilities of the characters, right? That's a system that you are not going to find in any other MMO. It's a way to tell a story that doesn't involve any words. And it's a way to bring life to the world, right? And it's such a core part of the gameplay and such a fun system to work with because we have these options that we wouldn't have otherwise. So again, it's a lot of discovery, a lot of implementation, a lot of really hard work and long days. But at the end of the day, we're creating something really awesome. So,
And I think the cool thing is even though it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of long days. But at the end of the day, you get to see what you worked on that day implemented, right?
Yeah,
in
really
the
quick.
game. And I think that the most important thing for us is that we're able to get up and running very quick with these ideas on an iteration process in the game.
yeah.
And
Everybody knows what they're doing, right? That's one of the really cool things. We have a studio that's full of experts, which is pretty rare. The MMO industry isn't huge. There's not a lot of people with our background, and all of us together form Voltron. And we kind of, I don't know, it's
That was very
I've not had an experience like this before,
Yeah.
so it's
Cool.
really refreshing.
To add, one of the things we like to do a lot is, we argue. So
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
a
lie,
lot.
we argue a lot about, but one of the things we like to do at the end of an argument is like, let's just play test that.
Let's just do it.
Let's just
Yeah.
see how that works, because there's no better way to tell who won the argument than to play test it and see what falls
We
on the
can
floor.
theory craft all day long,
Yeah.
but that's theory crafting is so different than actually playing it and
Yeah.
feeling it.
I think that makes perfect sense.
I'm usually right.
Wow. Between the two of them.
Steven, do you want to talk a little bit about your day-to-day? And
Yeah, absolutely. So, every day for me coming into that office, I got to tell you, the most exciting thing is honestly the culture that we've built. Coming into this industry as a newbie, from an industry standpoint, not as a gamer, but from an industry standpoint, I've heard interesting stories about other studios and those cultures that exist, and what we've built at Intrepid is a lot of fun. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a lot of fun to be able to work with people that have the experience that these developers have, that have the passion for gaming that these developers have, and that have the atmosphere in the office where we can express our experiences as gamers as well as developers and come to a fun, playable game that we can look at. So, I mean, my experience is when I come in, I'm giving kind of these overarching ideas for the game, how I want systems to kind of play out, and then I confer with my designers on how they can best implement those systems in the game and bring them to life. so to speak. So but at the end of the day also, what I didn't realize when I first got started was just how much of literally everything that's going on you must know. And I will admit that my greatest weakness from an understanding standpoint was anything that had to revolve around engineering, the technical side of things. You know, I had a very firm understanding of design because I played a lot of things. I've experienced a lot of different designs. I know what systems kind of work or decay a server's integrity from a community standpoint, and I wanted to avoid those things. But from engineering standpoint, you know, I really had to very heavily rely on what my engineers were telling me. But over the past couple of years now, having been immersed in that, I've gained a better foothold in understanding those things. But what I'm trying to get to is, as a creative director, you know, and then also CEO, you're dealing with all the business things. You're dealing with the design, you're dealing with engineering, you're dealing with art, you're dealing with concept, theory crafting, you're dealing with marketing, press. All of those things kind of just make your head explode a little bit. But I think that I underestimated maybe at the get-go just how much I needed to fully grasp on all of those subjects at the same time. And but it's been a lot of fun, I got to tell you.
And look where it's gotten us.
Absolutely. The most amazing part of what I get to experience is being interactive with the community and seeing on Discord, on our social mediums, the excitement from the players seeing this come to life. Like in real time, seeing it happen is the most rewarding thing for me. And I know for the team, it's a major morale booster. It gets us excited. It is something we feed off of when we get to show people the progress we're making.
Yeah, talking with everybody yesterday, and I'm sure talking to people today, like it's so cool to talk to you guys and to hang out with you. And it really, you know, we're creating this together, right? It's not just up here, you know, where we're doing the thought process. It's all out there too.
Yes.
Without you guys, we couldn't do this, so it's fun.
Yes.
How many of you guys are on the Discord? Or on, look at it, say.
Yeah.
How many of you guys played it on the show floor yet?
Nice.
Who hasn't played it on the show floor yet? All right.
What?
Welcome to PAX. It's
Get
Friday.
mine.
They
Hey,
came
it's
to the
Friday.
panel. They get to cut the line.
Oh, there you go.
So, Akil, tell us about, as Steve was just talking about engineering, and tell us about the technical side.
So my job is pretty similar to Jeff's, but I focus on taking those ideas and making sure that they're very portable, because when we have something like the reveal system that Jeff was talking about, we're going to need to implement that like thousands of times in the world. And each of those instances of it have to be implemented quickly. They need to be able to be debugged quickly. And so I focus a lot on making sure that that stuff can be repeated and debugged and replicated very easily and quickly. Aside from that, I've been working a lot on abilities, just making sure that the ability system works, and when you push a button, the right thing happens, and then happens again, and keeps
And then
happening.
doesn't crash the server.
And then doesn't crash the server, which is kind of a task sometimes. But yeah, I love, just like Jess, every day is different. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be working with NPC AI or with abilities or with world events or with nodes. So, and I just love the challenge. I love the surprise. I love that I'm constantly engaged.
It's kind of funny too, because it's Jeff and Akil are being like super humble. So just coming from years of doing MMOs, typically, you know, at other companies, designers and disciplines are kind of kept in their lanes, if you will. I have never worked on an MMO where I walk in and see designers doing what they're doing. Akil will be doing code in the morning and design side implementation into Unreal in the evening. I've never seen that.
I don't recommend that, because there's nothing worse than having to be the coder that you yell at for a design system that's broken.
You can't blame anybody else.
You don't want
That's
that,
exactly
because you go and you look, you're like, I hate myself so
Akil will
much
be
right now."
literally blaming himself for stuff he's not done with yet.
Yeah.
I can hear it. We sit right next to each other and I'm just cracking up. And Jeff will do things like, recently I had a problem where we wanted to see the characters run around, you know, in the client in their own little whiteboard. Whiteboard is like this testing environment. And Jeff put this together in 6 hours. And I mean, I can't even tell you, I've been in this engine for like 16 years?
Something like that, yeah.
And I couldn't have built it. So these guys are doing stuff in there that is amazing in the engine. And Steven has kind of set up this environment where if you see a hole that needs to be filled, you just walk over, pick up a shovel, and fill it.
Yeah.
So you end up having designers doing some code, artists doing technical stuff. It's very non-traditional, and I think that's why you guys see turnarounds this fast from Kickstarter, because we're not in meetings trying to figure out how many people watch while someone digs. Everyone just pick up a shovel and start digging, and then people go, wait, look, somebody's filling a hole, and they'll just run over, and everybody will start filling in the hole and solving the problem. So it's a very different.
Love your metaphors.
Yeah, we all have our own roles, but we also wear a lot of hats. And like when problems come up, I mean, we just sort of spread, and whoever's best and good at doing that job, I mean, we just take it over. And I think what's really amazing about the studio is just the flexibility that we have to work on this stuff, and also the way we're pushed. Well, we're not really pushed. I mean, we push ourselves. So when we come in, like the thing we do yesterday is not, we're going to do better today. We're going to go bigger, better, and yeah, just constantly pushing the envelope and trying to outdo ourselves from the day previous to that. And I think because of our flexibility, we're a smaller team for this type of project. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I mean, we're super agile, and we love what we do. So when we come in, it's just like Christmas every day.
Michael, you started talking, and as I'm watching the videos, I'm looking at the environments you're building. And it truly is, I love epic fantasy, and it truly is an epic fantasy world. I know we're both fans. What makes you tick when you sit down and look at how you're going to build out a zone, how you're going to build out the pathway that the players are running down, or the trees around it, or the...
Well,
give us your thought process.
Well, I mean, I guess I approach it kind of you have to take what the design kind of has in mind, and we have lots of talks about that. And then and then mostly it's translating, but also I don't like to repeat myself. So I'm always pushing for different shapes and forms and texture and silhouette, and constantly moving in directions that are a little bit surprising to what I've done in the previous thing. And I just like exploring, and so that's the other one thing I really like about the companies. We're kind of like that. We all want to just kind of move forward and make a really breathing, living world that. Sorry, I'm a horrible speaker. I really am.
So Mike and I worked on EQQ at the same time, and every once in a while he would just show up with a fantastic dungeon that he made in his free time. Like it would just be like Christmas.
He's like, hey guys, can you use it somewhere?
Here's an awesome dungeon. We're like, thanks. Like, this is fantastic. We weren't expecting this, and he just loves what he does, and he's so great at it that just amazing stuff just falls out everywhere, just around him. And
I don't like to talk as much as just show. I just like to do. I just do things, and so I just want to. I do this, and I go, okay, I want to blow everybody's mind. I want to do this, and it's gonna be awesome. And I'm gonna show it to this. It's just gonna land like a bomb, And so I kind of enjoy pulling these things out of my hat and just landing it, and and then it's very rewarding, when people respond to it.
Another great thing about Bacon is that if I go to Bacon, I'm like, I want a castle. I want a castle that has some of these elements to it. I can just walk away, and I know the next time I come back, I'm going to see the most badass castle I've ever seen in my life.
You'll see 4 of them.
Right, you'll see 4 castles. There'll be a flying castle. There'll be a castle on the ground.
You'll see a king.
Which one do you want?
All of them? We'll take them all.
And some critters.
You guys need to live stream a D&D game so we can all watch it.
No.
Oh wait, that would take time. Never mind. Make the game.
No. We had one D&D session, and I don't know if we could legally stream that. So.
Nice. That's awesome. It's great when what's so much fun about dungeons is the challenge you're going to be creating for these guys, and for me as a player too. And so I'm always curious, Michael. I know you're You're not talking much today, but your artwork is speaking for you on the screen, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's not just me. I mean, we have like a
No, it's everybody. I know. But from a standpoint, you know, you talk about like a dungeon mechanic. We've all played MMOs in this room, I'm sure. We've all been extremely frustrated and thrown our mice or keyboards or flipped our computers at dungeons. What is it that makes a dungeon interesting from your side? But also, Matt, what makes it interesting from a character side? Right, because you could you talk about classic fantasy. You go into an undead dungeon and your cleric's like, yeah, this is me. Their paladin's gonna crush everybody, right? And then you go into like a woodland dungeon, you get your ranger and druid stepping up. So, what's it like for you guys from a mechanic to build out these environments that enhance the experience for these characters?
I think one of the most important things about, I mean, specifically with regards to dungeon building, is that you want the dungeon to tell a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You want to look at an environment, at an area, and you want to, like you're seeing right here with this boss, you see that like heart that's just beating in the background in the center. Like, what is that? Why is that there? How does it relate to this boss? And then you can kind of delve in through the narrative that, you know, Jeff or Akil may put in and learn about it. And it's a central figure in the dungeon and the identity of that place. And it's something that you can just explore, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's about trying to like talk with the artist, right, and tell the story that you want to tell, and help them kind of see like where you're going with it, what bits are important. I never like to say like, hey, this thing looks like this exactly. I say like, I kind of want something like this. I want it to have this effect, and then I let the artist kind of take over, because they have a much better eye than I think any of the designers, and the things that they come up with are things that are in my head. Like, I might say 5 or 6 words to Matt, and then all of a sudden it's like what was in my mind is there on the page. And I don't know how he does it. I don't know how any of the artists do it. But it's that storytelling, that collaboration, between the two departments that kind of allows us to go down that road.
No, it's no doubt. I mean, Steven always sets the bar from a creative standpoint, right? Because a lot of times you feel like at work, what we're really doing, he talked about his days going back to Neverwinter, and I feel like most days you're almost capturing his childhood. You're really a good character artist, or any artist in this business. I always say that they listen more than they draw. You're basically just encapsulating what you're hearing over a period of time, and then you start to just translate that into the game. So a lot of what we're doing on the characters comes from, I remember day one, the first thing I did was got together with Jeff and I said, where are the designs? Because we really need a story to kind of make characters and stuff look believable, and it all starts with design. You just can't make it up out of nowhere.
Yeah, visual storytelling is one of the most important things in a dungeon. It's one of the things I love about Michael again. But just in general, I like to think of dungeons as having kind of like multiple layers of history to them, right? Like you go into a dungeon and you can see what happened there yesterday, you can see what happened there 10 years ago, you can see what happened there 100 years ago, and you should be able to walk through a dungeon and know all of those things as you walk through it.
Without saying anything. Without using any text.
To a degree. Sometimes I actually like I build a hall with an L, and you don't know what's around the corner. I don't know what's around the corner, and then I have to use my imagination and go, well, what would be really cool around that corner, So when I go around that corner, it's like, you will see something that's, scary, like really scary, and then you say, okay, I'm just going to go for that. I'm just going to like get it to where like when the player turns the corner, they're going to open up to
some evil McStuffertons or something.
Yeah, something.
It's kind of funny too. Like Michael's
Exactly.
saying, this is another thing I really love about being at Intrepid is, in prior games, if say for instance, we were just having this conversation recently. It was me with the producer, Peter. And we're sitting there talking about the characters, and we're going over the schedule, and we're trying to describe some of the new armor sets that we're doing that I can't get too much into, but you're going to be blown away by what's
Blown
coming.
away.
You're going to be blown away.
It looks pretty good.
And we're talking about it, and Steven goes, Peter goes, it's like Starfire. So literally the producer, I go, oh my God, that's perfect. So we started theming things from a conversation. Again, it's that whole shovel filling in holes. We started theming, art direction just in real time. So it's just extremely fluid, but in the best possible way. So a lot of the inspiration just comes from, your brothers and sisters around you, and what's kind of happening in the moment, and then it just breathes life.
And that
into the
speaks to really the experience on the team of not just what their backgrounds are as a developer, but what their backgrounds are as a gamer.
Yeah.
Right? Like knowing what you liked in other things and being able to draw inspiration from those things.
Cool. We'll extend I'm going off my notes here, but that's all right. I think we're doing well freeform, so we'll keep it going.
That's what we do.
No. It's the best part of these panels. So what's really interesting, we talk about dungeon design, right? We've all RPG'd and gone through it, but MMOs create that open world. And you started to talk a little bit about the node system, but one of the beauties of what MMOs really does is it allows you to explore this rich world of Vera, right? And kind of go into the lore of what Ashes is really all about. So maybe talk about that from a design perspective. As you know, we're all going to be in the dungeon hallway, probably frustrated at some point because of something Michael put in there, but we'll also be rewarded, right, at the end. But then we go outside of the cave and suddenly there's this amazing landscape in front of us, and we can work on that ourselves as our characters. So tell us a little bit about the open world building experience that you guys are working on.
So part of that discussion about the dungeon and not knowing what's around the corner also plays into both the lore of the world and how the node system works. As nodes develop and they build up from a merchant to an encampment, a village, a town, a city, eventually metropolis, at every stage a node develops, it's unlocking narratives, storylines, it's changing the spawn population of the area around it, changing what bosses exist, it's triggering events where you may have these legendary, dragon attack the city. It's basically writing the story of the server based on the actions and determination of the players. So you may experience a dungeon 1 month earlier and have a completely different story that relates to this location. And then the next month, because something has changed either geopolitically or from the node standpoint, a new node has erupted, attracting the attention of some different type of adversary. And that dungeon will change. So from a replayability standpoint, from experiencing a living world that changes with the actions of the community, you're going to experience different things around that corner.
Yeah, that dungeon's not going to stay the same, and that's one of the really cool things about it, right? Like it can get old playing the same dungeon because you're never surprised by anything. You know exactly, where every boss is, where every path is, exactly what to pull when, and there's nothing really surprising about that. And the node system really allows us to change those things up. I mean, it's a lot of really simple systems layered on top of each other that allow us to get really incredibly complex behavior on the server. And it's, as far as the storyline goes, I guess what your question was, that's kind of how the story is built as well, right? We have kind of a sense of history from, thousands of years of history kind of baked into this story. And a lot of it is about mythology and discovering what True's mythologies are talking about and finding out like what really happened on this world so long ago. And that's part of that discovery process. And we want people to feel that throughout the game, not just in terms of lore, but in terms of the world itself.
Right, and I think like for me personally, in my experiences playing MMOs in the past, yes, there are rich stories there, but they're just stories that you usually read about as a player and not so much experience that in the game as much, Like this, we bring the lore into the world and it has an impact on how you interact. You will have choices in that quest line that you can make that will change how that quest works for you, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, and you're going to have to take into account what's been happening in the world to make those particular choices.
Yeah, knowing your history is going to help.
Yes, and we're keeping lore. I mean, obviously, for those of you who've been following Ashes, we're keeping lore very close to the chest. And the reason for that is because it is very rich, it is diverse, it will have applications outside of just the MMORPG. We intend to take it much further, but I want it to be something that the players get to reveal themselves. That's not just handed to them and then the experience is lost. They should feel when they're experiencing this that it relates to them on a personal level as well.
I definitely think so. I think it's I think one of the things that's been missing in video games is the joy of discovery, 100%. So I'm going to jump because I want to get to their questions real quick. But there's one more thing I wanted to ask: is you guys had a successful Kickstarter, right? One of the top ever for an
Thanks,
MMO.
you guys.
Thank you. Yes.
And you are continuing your alpha development. So when are they going to get to play? Or you can, I'll let you
play
talk about
downstairs.
this. I don't want to give anything
Yeah,
away.
downstairs at our booth. No,
Yeah, come down.
we may have a date that we may announce.
We'll wait.
Okay.
We'll give them at the end.
There you go. We'll go to the end. We'll take questions first. From,
Yeah. Let's
audience.
get some questions, guys. Feel free to come up to mics, or is there microphones on the in the stand? There's a microphone right there. Come on up and ask questions.
Oh, I thought that
We
was
try to give you guys as much time for questions as possible. So
Is this thing on? All right.
it is. Yeah. Just do us a favor and keep it short and go.
No problem. First, shout out to the Ashes community. Love all you guys
Woo!
on the Discord.
All right.
They're all great. When can we expect Nodes Part 3?
All right, that's a deep one right away.
Send
Go.
nodes.
Thank you.
Nodes Part 3. So actually one of our team members is not currently with us here at PAX, and his name is Tristan Snodgrass, and the reason for that is because he's currently back at the studios working on Nodes Part 3. So soon, trademark.
Cool. Go ahead, man.
Hi. So just wondering, how do you intend to keep the community cemented from somebody that just started playing the game versus somebody they've been in, late game or end game
Yes.
for weeks?
a great question.
That's a great question, and it is oftentimes, in my experience, is a problem that a lot of MMOs have, is that those starting areas become just kind of vacant of players, and it's so sad because the greatest aspect of an MMO is that community that you get to experience. So one of the great things about the node system is that it really works from a new player acquisition standpoint, where these nodes tend to develop larger near the starting locations, areas around the world, and it brings these players back to those locations if they're citizens and want services within those cities. So as new players enter the world, they're going to actually be surrounded most likely by more population because people are coming back to those larger nodes. In addition, we have certain systems that will relate kind of in a way towards a mentorship program that upper level players are going to be able to benefit from partying and or helping certain lower level players and getting them situated in the game.
Yeah, I mean, part of the whole experience with nodes, right, is that there is no real end game in that the world is constantly shifting every day, right? Month 1 is going to be really different from month 2, and that's for the level 50s and the level 1s. So that sense of what's new is going to be the case for any new player who comes. They're going to be able to participate in these systems and make difference from day 1. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a different MMO. You're not going to feel the same way as a level 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Cool. Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a quick question. I'm wondering if on a server there's enough like level 50s, let's say, that get together and make one node their permanent home, and enough players want to move around and there's really no one to contest that strength. Do you guys have any systems in play or systems in mind that might be able to counteract that? Something to keep it balanced for newbies and experienced players when they want to change the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the thing about nodes is that you can declare citizenship to only one node. And when you declare that citizenship, let's say your example of one guild perhaps wanting to kind of take all their members and have them all declare the same citizenship to a location. The longer a node exists, the higher the prize it is to take. And some systems with regards to crafting progression and or rewards and bonuses, or the reliquary that we haven't really touched on a lot, those systems are going to be so enticing that from an incentive standpoint, it will compel other groups to either potentially break alliances or siege the city in order to take the goods that are potentially in it. So from an incentive standpoint, we have that at play. Additionally, we don't have a cap per se that we've announced yet on the citizenship aspect of being in a node, but we do have soft caps. It becomes costlier the higher number of citizens each time a new person wants to join to be part of a node. So there is sort of a soft cap on how many citizens one node can have, and it might be that not all in the guild can participate in that area. So there's kind of a natural divide, a pseudo-faction, so to speak, between who is a part of that node and who is not. Additionally, last thing, we have conditions that you can set between nodes with regards to either nodes being friendly with each other and acting trade alliances, or they can declare war on nodes, similar to how guild wars may function in different games where those citizens become hostile to each other based on the player government that's elected in the particular node. So those systems all kind of cater to allowing conflict that's meaningful and that also provides a non-imbalanced relationship between stronger guilds and not as strong guilds.
Another soft cap we have is the number of non-instanced housing.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So players might want to declare to another node just so they can have a house.
That's absolutely right.
Thank you.
Cool. Cool. Great questions, guys. Keep going.
Hi. So I'm sure everyone in this room is going to love and enjoy this game, but we all want to do different things. I think it's important to kind of figure out a balance between what people want to do, because there's going to be people who want to just do the exploration, or they want to do they just want to sit and role play in cities, or they want to do PvP. They want to do all that stuff. So how do you guys plan on balancing all that to see like who is it going to like tilt more in the favor of the higher demand, or is it just going to try to be all one together thing?
This is something that Jeff and I actually talk about a good bit. There's a guy who wrote a book on game design called Bartle, and he breaks gamers up into different categories. And so we will often talk about the different categories of gamers and trying to satisfy their needs. So like we're like, oh yeah, we could do this for explorers to get explorers more engaged in the game, or we could do this for socializers to get them more engaged. So it is something that we're paying attention to. I don't think that we will necessarily go towards higher demand because it's hard. It's hard to tell what's demand and what's just like vocality. But yeah, we'll try and address all those gamer types.
I think the most compelling design argument for how those different sects of gamers interact with each other is dependent from the design standpoint of interdependencies in the systems. So, for example, if as a raider or as a PvPer, you're looking for the best gear, you're going to devote your time towards leveling up and going out and participating in the things you enjoy, like PvPing, perhaps going for caravans or sieging cities and castles and all that type of stuff. If you want the best gear, you're going to have to rely on a person who's devoted their time towards crafting, potentially. And they may not be a PvPer, but they have a place in your wheelhouse because you need their services. And then that crafter is going to need person who is either a gatherer or plays the economy as a merchant in the nodes with the auction houses that are regionalized. They're going to have to, that person's going to have to work with a person who specializes in trade that takes caravans with either mercenary groups or other guilds that are PvPers between the nodes to get the resources they need. Building dependencies on different groups or factions of players that exist within a large world like this MMORPG is what kind of solidifies the bonds that allow for them to exist either harmoniously or at least in a way that they know you need those types of players.
Yeah, it's just to, I guess, add a little bit, is that all of those players make an MMO what it is, right? Again, an MMO lives and breathes on its community, and we don't really want to give short shrift to any one of those types, right? All of them are important. The RPers are important. The people who just want to hang out in the inn and talk are important. They all add to the game, and so we want to make sure that we take care of all of them.
And you want to give them a home in the game from a system standpoint as well, right? Like
a meaningful home.
Exactly. And for example, you're talking about our peers, like our tavern games and taverns, right? And the freeholds and building up those narratives that players can direct. And
you can run a business based on RPing,
yes,
which is really cool.
I think it's the old phrase, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, people will use it.
If you build the systems that entertain or play towards certain groups, they will come and they will play.
Yeah,
They'll find a way to
the
interact.
other thing is that most people aren't just one type, right?
Yes.
So having those other things built out and well supported means that like if you want to do something else, instead of going to another game, you'll just kind of do more of that in action, right? And so, yeah, it's to our benefit to make that as robust as we can.
Yeah, good question.
Cool. We may have to go lightning round soon.
Okay, sorry.
So lightning round. We do lightning round.
so
Go ahead.
So you talk about how you want your world to be meaningful and have the players have an impact, and I think that's really ambitious and really awesome. But I was wondering how you're planning to balance, for example, casual players against very hardcore players. How someone who for example, would be able or willing to only spend 5 hours can compare in meaningfulness to the world to someone who spends 25 hours and up in the game?
You want a lightning round that?
Sure. So because of the node system, because everything reacts to what players are doing, casual players are still impacting that, right? They still have access to the same systems that a hardcore player does. They might not spend as much time, and obviously they're not going to get as much benefit, but they will still have an impact because what they do will be necessary for the health of the server.
And not only that, but like, you know, from an event standpoint, there are events that are happening in the world, in the game, that you won't need to be a hardcore player to impact and join. For example, the triggered events from the PvE standpoint against the cities, the trades of the caravans, those natural battlegrounds that exist, the castle sieges you can log in for. You know, there's a lot of systems that are at play where a person can simply log in, participate, have fun, be impactful, and then log out.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep going. We're going to go quick. We got to get everybody in.
So about that Starfire set. No, what you said that you want the world to change and the nodes to change. Are there any systems that are going to be in place to prevent gaming the node system? So say a guild or a collection of guilds decide that they want a node in this specific section because they know that dungeon, they know that boss, they want that loot from there. So they siege a city and then intentionally gather at a specific node to build that up because they've heard elsewhere that that's a better node than the other.
That's gameplay,
Yeah.
right? Like that's cool. That's not something that we necessarily need to fight. We just need to make sure that that's fun and balanced for everybody else, right?
Yes.
So we're trying to look at that from a different angle.
Yeah, when you say game the system, I interpret that as working in a way that we didn't intend. And if a system, if an opportunistic group of people come and they spend hard amount of time working on, benefiting from either a location that's near that, dungeon or whatever, that's them actually playing the system, not necessarily gaming the system. But I think if we're referring to systems working in ways we don't intend, we have a lot of back-end metrics that we are watching that are built in from an early standpoint in the game that when we're live, we'll be able to watch and make sure they are working as intended. And if they're not, we'll have fixes for them.
Yeah, we have a lot of levers to move to make sure that, if something's too easy, we can turn it down.
Yes.
If something's too hard, we can turn it up.
Right.
And we can do that almost in real time.
Yes.
So if nodes end up not shifting hands as much as you think, you could up that, like NPC.
Yeah, we can
sieging
increase
or
the decay
something.
rate of a node.
Yeah, and
increase how much
right.
taxes contribute to the decay. That kind of stuff.
I mean, the way that the systems are being designed from a balancing standpoint, we're taking into account how we would like the nodes to change per se, right? How often. And we've designed attrition systems for certain cultures that may have more dominance over others. These are things that in alpha and beta we will be testing and watching and making sure that our objective is achieved from a gameplay standpoint. And if it's not, we'll come back and recalculate.
Cool. All right, we're going to go quick, try to get everybody in. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm curious about more of the culture and the lore. You did go a little in depth about how it's going to be, we'll be exploring it through the ancient ruins and whatnot. Will they be more advanced things like botany or being able to explore more in depth, more specific things about the game? Or is it all just going to be us creating history and culture?
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, there's a.
Sorry, trying to be.
Go ahead. Go.
There's a lot of history to discover, right? It's not going to be just players writing the stories. We're going to be writing plenty of stories and ways to sort of discover what has happened in the world, how to deal with what's happened in the world, and how to move the world forward.
And I think that where this question is stemming from is oftentimes, and real quick, in game development for MMOs, you have had studios that have released these kind of quote-unquote player-driven content, and it ends up being no content or not fun content.
Very true.
And what we've understood from the get-go is that we're going to have to make a lot of content. And we're prepared for that, and we have a lot of source material to work from, and we're very, very happy and excited to do that. So there's going to be meaningful choices that open doors to content you're going to love.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Next, we got.
My question regards the nodes. What stops people from abandoning one to go to a better one instead of sieging it?
Nothing.
Nothing.
There's no disciplinary thing to leave a node.
There is a cooldown period on your declaration of citizenship, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and eventually, if everybody decides to leave a node, that node will decay and be reclaimed by the wilderness.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Hi.
One of my favorite parts of EverQuest 2, which many of you had a lot of work in, was the alternative ways to advance your character outside of killing monsters, gaining levels, the alternative advancement systems, the little flavor things like killing orcs to gain enough lore to learn to speak Orcish and things like that. What can you tell us about those sorts of things that you plan to bring to Ashes, if anything?
There's a bunch of different systems. There's the religion system, the organization system. There's sort of like your racial progression in terms of your class. Artisanship, right? All of those things are sort of independent of your main class. So you can raise those outside of just your, what EQ2 would call your adventuring class. So there's a lot of different things to explore and things to sort of gain levels in.
And there's a comfortable balance of linear progression, you know, like with regards to your characters, maybe level progression. You know, those things all house different experience factors that give a viable way forward when it comes to actually that linear progression. And I think that's important because you offer players then the opportunity to really focus on the things that they enjoy rather than being pigeonholed into something they don't.
Hi, I was wondering if in the future you guys had any plans for open, like, accepting of player-made mods or add-ons, maybe to change the UI or icons on the map, or if players would be able to make any of these things.
UI maybe, but
not like content, not like content, more like people who are more focused on like PvP or things like that. Like they might make it so the health's in an easier spot to see with all their buffs and things like that, mainly for like the competitive aspect.
Well, I will think, with regards to UI, ours is going to be very customizable in and of itself. That's our objective for UI. So with regards to seeing where health is at and stuff like that, that's a different story. But unlocking different APIs for people to get like DPS meter. Oh God, I'm sorry, I just said that out loud. But we don't want things that divide. And sometimes when you give some communities the agency to make those things, it facilitates the division.
There becomes haves and have-nots.
Right.
Like there becomes sort of like an external meta on how you play the game.
Right.
And we want everybody to play the game in sort of the same way with the same tools.
And I guess another thing about that is we're not necessarily, our mind isn't made up necessarily with regards to how this would work, but we will watch as we go through alphas and betas how this happens and come up for a decision. That's not a difficult implementation. It's something that we can do, you know, after.
Yeah, we can flip that switch anytime we want to, but it's whether or not it's good for
Thank you. Cool. We got like 4 minutes, so we'll go lightning speed.
I have a simple question. A lot of MMOs have like a history and legendary characters and stuff like that. I'm wondering how Ashes is going to stack up to that.
Cool. Good question.
Yeah, I mean, lots of games have a lot of content because they've been out for years and years and years and years. They have a head start on us, and there's no real good answer to that other than the fact it's a new game, right? There's a lot of stuff to discover. There's not going to be any dearth of content. There's going to be plenty of it.
Another aspect to that, I totally agree, but also, we do have heroes in our story, right? We have those named characters that you will read about and even potentially through some type of, well, I don't want to get into that, sorry. But I almost let myself slip there.
4 minutes.
4 minutes, sorry. So yes, we have legendary characters, but it'll progress.
And also more of those characters will come up as you play the story and it'll be people you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the biggest appeals to open world MMORPGs is the fact that it contributes to a lot of player interactions. What are some of the things that you've learned from the successes and failures of previous open world MMORPGs like Arcade or Black Desert?
Oh, that's a very long
we can all go
question.
Into that.
Oh boy. I'll just answer my I guess top three is one, listening to the community and being real time in changes. And I'm not talking about the creative vision of the project. I'm talking about specific practices that people don't like. Two, we want progression to matter, and we don't want to undermine that progression by offering a cash shop that's going to give these pay-to-win / gimmicks towards monetization. In an MMORPG, economy is extremely important, especially for us, that matters. And the last thing, we want players to be fulfilled in what they do. We don't want the rug to be pulled out from under them later on by some major change that's going to kind of trivialize the amount of time they put into the game. So those are my top three.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Good question, good answer. All right, we got 2 minutes, go.
So let's be honest. The amount of classes you guys have is ambitious for balancing. My question is on crafting. How flexible are you planning to make the crafting to balance out all those classes?
Pretty flexible.
Pretty flexible, but one thing we do want to make sure about crafting is that when you're a master of a particular aspect of the crafting, you're a master of it, and it's meaningful in the world and other players. We don't want everybody to be a master of everything. We want your choices to have some consequences, and we want them to mean something. So otherwise, pretty flexible.
Yeah, like the individual sword that you craft, if you're a master swordsmith, right? You'll have a lot of flexibility in what the end product is. But yeah, the flexibility in terms of which class you end up as depends on. Yeah, it's all good.
No, you're good. I'm just saying last one.
Thank you. Yeah, last one. I'm so sorry. Here's my role for panels. The three of you guys who've been waiting, come up after the panel real quick and talk to the guys and ask your questions. That's always the best method. But go ahead, last question.
All right. So let's be honest. Player housing is extremely difficult to do. In games like Arcades, you run out of land in 24 hours. In games like Black Desert, player housing is boring to somebody who, like me, who only plays 3 hours a week. How are you going to keep player housing and player land accessible, usable, and enjoyable?
So, go ahead.
We're going to end on that one.
Real quick.
So one of the things is that we kind of help to maintain what land is available based on one plot of land per character per account.
All right, we call it our freehold system. So
Freehold system, yeah.
just real quick, there's 3 types of housing. There's instance housing that's developed by governments within nodes. They can build an apartment building, perhaps. It might have a certain quota of apartments that are available. People can do that. Second, there's static housing that exists within a node. That is, you see a house and you buy it, and you can buy it from other players. The third is the freehold system. The freehold system is limited 1 freehold per account. It is a parcel of land. You may build infrastructure on it. You may build housing on it. You may build business on it. Those things kind of...
it's a big piece of land.
It's a big piece of land. What we do to avoid things like a land rush or making it more accessible is that these systems are tied to the development of nodes, and nodes change. They can be destroyed. They can de-level. They can level up further. It's not going to be, I log into the server day 1, I need to run to this spot and get a house because it's the best spot, and I don't get a house there, I'm screwed. It's instead I need to go out and build the world before I can build a house. And I may not know which node is going to develop to stage 3 where housing becomes available first. So, and there's no fast travel where I can just instantly teleport across all the land like that and get there and rush it. So it's more strategic in planning for players to see and kind of follow where the development happens. And if they lose out, there's opportunities elsewhere in the world for you to do it again.
Or siege that node down.
Exactly.
Awesome, guys. I'm going to let the guys make an announcement now. So since you guys have been so patient, the questions have been fantastic. I'm going to turn it over to Steve. Go.
All right. So I know we're pressed for time, but we have been very satisfied with our pace of development so far. We've been hitting ahead of schedule internally on a lot of things, and we're actually very happy to announce that we're going to be dividing our Alpha 1 into 2 phases. The first phase is going to be a way for us to get a lot of players into different arena modes and test out our castle sieges, test out our city sieges, test out large player battles, raid versus raid, guild fights, and we're happy to announce that first phase of Alpha 1 will be launched early in Q4, this 4th quarter of 2018. Right now, as some of you may know, we're in what we call our Alpha 0, which is our pre-alpha testing phase for us to get a lot of back-end systems up and to get a lot of core functionality in on the node system and how that relates to narratives and dungeons and spawn populations. We're also happy to announce that everybody in this room will be getting an Alpha 0 invite. I will say that on behalf of the team at Intrepid Studios, it is an absolute privilege, pleasure, and honor to be building this game for the community, for you guys. It is no short pleasure for us to see the reaction as we're developing this game. It brings sometimes some tears to the eyes. It brings a warm feeling to the heart. And you know, as passionate gamers as you guys are and we are, it is exciting for us to be moving this genre forward, and we couldn't do it without everybody's help.
For sure.
So thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
That was
There'll
great.
be some sign-up stations outside. We have 3 iPads. You'll just need to give your email address for the Alpha Zero invite, and we'll see you guys outside. Thank you all very
Thanks,
much.
guys. It was great. Come down to the show floor and play it. It's not hard to see the booth. You guys are in a great spot.